survival times can be analyzed using survival analysis. Okay, so it's different from continuous. It's different from binary because binary or ordinal or multinomial data are categorical. It's different from continuous because here we have a phenomenon called censoring that will be clear after some slides. Okay, because the cohort of individuals whom you are following may or may not experience of the event of interest during your follow-up period. So because of that, there will be censoring. And because of this, we need a special analysis called this survival analysis. So we will cover this. We'll see what survival analysis, we'll see censoring and truncated data. We'll see about life table, which is a type of survival analysis, the simplest type of analysis, of course. We will see Kaplan-Meier estimators, log rank test, Fuchs regression, and we will see the assumptions of proportional hazard, which is vital in survival analysis. We'll see all this anyway. So, as you remember, when you have continuous data, we can compare the mean between two groups using t-test or ANOVA, right? That's when we have continuous data. We can also conduct regression models. We can also make predictions by using regression models. But this either ANOVA or regression models cannot be used for survival data because survival data has a skewed distribution. You cannot fulfill the assumption of normality, which is a common assumption for t-test, ANOVA, or regression. One. Second, some observations may be censored. Okay. Look, what does censored meaning? Let me brief you what it means. Censored meaning, you know, survival analysis is a follow-up data, right? Or a follow-up study. For example, you may be interested in survival time from birth until death. Okay, from birth until death. So while you are following individuals, some of them may disappear from the court. Okay, some of them may be disappeared from the court. Because of that, we don't know when they will die. They may disappear because they have got, because they might. Okay, I want to share just So we know that time is continuous data. Time is continuous data, so we can apply linear regression. But even though we can apply linear regression or ANOVA, we cannot apply these methods for survival data because even though time is continuous, usually the distribution is skewed. We cannot have a normal distribution fulfilled. That's one problem. The second problem is we have censoring a phenomenon called censoring in the case of survival analysis. Why we have censoring? Because while you are following the study participants, some of them may lose follow-up or disappear from the court. Okay, they could disappear from your eye. So if they disappeared from the court or from the follow-up, you cannot assess the survival time. We do not know the length of their survival time. We don't know when they will die. For example, if the event of interest is death. Therefore, if we do not know the survival time, we cannot apply linear regression. Okay, so what is required here is to find another method called survival analysis. Survival analysis takes into account, okay, this censoring phenomenon, okay, the censoring phenomenon, and it is not affected by skewed data. So survival analysis is the appropriate technique for such time to event data. Okay, time to event data. Well, if that is the case, what does survival analysis mean? Survival analysis is a branch of statistics, of course, and it is, of course, analysis of time to event data. Okay, time to event data, or it is the analysis of the survival time, meaning from a certain origin until a certain event occurs. Okay, that's called time to event, and analysis of such time to event data is called survival analysis. So survival data deals with a time until occurrence of any well-defined event. Okay, the event could be days, so that could be from a certain origin, maybe birth or developing a certain disease until days from that particular disease, or it could be from treatment, start of treatment until a person is cured. Okay, the event of interest will be cured, being cured in that case. Okay, instead of being days. Okay, so anyway, we will have a certain well-specified event. The event could be days, or being cured, or reducing a certain amount of weight, etc. Okay, so the outcome variable examined in survival time uh, uh, is, of course, the time to event data. Okay, the time to event data. It is special because it incorporates what censoring phenomenon or censoring situation can be incorporated or can be handled on such statistical methods, right? Meaning, in the follow-up study, you should not deny that people will be lost follow-up. Okay, people will be out of your court or out of your view. So if that is the case, we don't know when the event will occur. We don't know when the event will occur to such lost follow-up individuals. So these are called censored because it's open-ended. Their survival time is open-ended as far as we are not following them closely. Therefore, such censoring phenomenon will be handled by survival analysis. Estimates, okay, what does survival analysis do actually? What does survival analysis actually do? You know, survival analysis can calculate the probability of surviving a certain, okay, the probability of surviving until a certain time t. Okay, estimates the probability that an individual survives a certain time or surpass some time, time t. Okay, for example, what is the probability of surviving or celebrating 60 years for me? Okay, what is the probability of surviving 70 years? Okay, for each of us. Okay, so you can calculate the probability. You can, by the way, you can calculate the probability of celebrating your 100 years. Okay, your 100 years or birthday. Okay, your 100 years birthday. You can calculate. Okay, so one significance or one importance of survival analysis is you can calculate the probability of surviving a certain time t. Second, you can also compare the survival of two groups. Okay, you can compare the survival of the treatment group and the placebo group. If the treatment group survived longer than the placebo, then that means that treatment is better. So we can calculate the probability of surviving a certain time t. Third, you can also measure the effect of different covariates on the survival time. That's also another beauty. Which factors elongate the survival time and which factors shortcut the survival time? Okay. For example, if you are studying on ART users, okay, of HIV patients, then The event may be days, okay? The event may be days, and your follow-up may start from the start of ART. So your survival time will be what? From the origin, that means from the beginning of the start of ART until a person dies. At the middle of the follow-up, of course, in the middle of the follow-up, of course, some of them may be what? Lost follow-up, that's censoring. Therefore, which factors shorten the survival time and which factors elongate the survival time? For example, if they are what? Or if they are using alcohol, okay, if they are heavy alcohol users, okay, in addition to the drug of ART, then their survival time may be short. Okay, so in this case, the drug or the alcohol is acting negatively on their survival time. Third, if their feeding style or some appropriate exercise or adherence, etc. All this may also what? Improve the survival time, elongate the survival time. So analyzing such factors on that would have some influence on the survival time is the third advantage of survival analysis. So when you summarize it, you can calculate the probability of surviving a certain time t. Okay. You can also compare the survival time of male and female, for example, or treatment and placebo group. You can also measure the effect of different factors on the survival time. Okay. In order to define a failure time meaning survival time. Failure time, of course, failure time is usually common in engineering. By the way, survival analysis was started as a health profession. Okay, the discipline biostatistics was because of survival analysis or survival analysis. Okay, the discipline statistics was created because of survival analysis. Like you have agricultural statistics, okay, or economic statistics or econometrics, or in agriculture we have biometrics. We have biostatistics in health, and here biostatistics is because of the survival time. And initially, survival analysis was related to days. Okay, it's related to days. That means from birth to days. But later, this survival analysis was or has been applied in many fields. In sociology, like for example, from graduation until a person gets a job, for example. In engineering, from the start of working of a machine until it broken down. Okay, so the survival time is from the start of the machine, okay, working until it is broken down. So this is called failure time. So failure time here is for engineers. For health, it's survival time, and for others there could be another. Okay. So when we say failure time, don't be confused. It means survival time, right? Survival time. It's for engineers, of course. Usually they use engineers, but we also use as a health professional. Okay. So in order to define the survival time or the failure time, random variable, we need three things. One, we need to have an ambiguous time origin. Okay. One, we need to have an ambiguous time origin. Okay. When the date of randomization to the clinical trial, time of exposure. Okay. That means the start of the follow-up. For example, if you are to calculate the expected life expectancy of Ethiopians, okay, the life expectancy of Ethiopians, then the origin is birth. The origin is birth. For a machine, it is the start of the working of the machine. Okay, it is the start of the machine when it starts working. Okay, when it starts working, then that is the origin. So anyway, just to conduct survival analysis, we need to have an ambiguous time origin. Okay, and the biggest, it depends on the nature of the length of the survival time. It could be in a minute, in an hour, in a day, in a month, in a year. And the other is you need to also energy time. It could be in days, in weeks. And the other is the definition of the event. Is it days? Is it being cured? Is it joining or getting a job? Or broken down of a machine? Or burst out of a bulb? Okay, a light bulb, etc. So these three things will define the survival time. So let's see different conditions that we can conduct survival analysis. Okay. For example, you can conduct a survival analysis or failure time analysis or time to failure analysis or time to event data analysis on, for example, from diagnosis to days. Okay, the first one from diagnosis to days. That means the origin will be the date on which a person confirmed to be positive is the origin, right? The origin. Then days is what? The event. Then from diagnosis until days is the survival time, right? So it can be measured in weeks or months or hours or whatever. Third, time until response to a treatment. So the origin will be in this case the start of the treatment. The start of the treatment. Okay, the start of the treatment. And the event will be response to a treatment, maybe being cured, for example. Okay, so the start of the treatment is the origin, and we follow until a person gets respond to a certain disease or to a certain drug or treatment. From exposure to development of symptoms of disease. From exposure to development of symptoms of a disease. From exposure to development of symptoms of disease. Yeah, so exposure to a certain risk factor is the time, okay, the time on which you are exposed to a certain risk factor is what? The origin. Then developing the disease will be what? The event, okay? From treatment of infertility to conception, okay, there will be a group of women who are infertile. So the date on which, or the time on which they got that treatment of infertility is the origin. Then we follow until they conceive. That is the event of interest is concept. From the start of the treatment to its failure, okay? Failure, drug failure is the event of, so the start of the drug will be the origin. Time until resumption of smoking by someone who had quit. Yeah, this is what we discussed last time. The cigarette data is such a data. People may quit smoking, so that is the origin, okay, of the follow-up. Then we follow them until what? They start smoking. Time until certain percentage of weight loss. Yeah, there could be obese people, okay, obesity, people with a certain, okay, huge amount of weight, for example, beyond the normal weight. So you may make some intervention, maybe jogging or exercise. So you follow them until they reduce or weight loss, get a weight loss of some certain weight. So the statistical treatment of survival time or survival data is known as survival analysis. Okay? So if you are statistics on such data, that statistical method, the appropriate statistical method on such data is survival analysis. Okay? Survival analysis. Okay, the two most common causes of incomplete observation are censoring and truncation. Okay, truncation and censoring are phenomena that made survival data different from other types of data, especially from continuous or categorical data. Let's see what does truncation mean. Truncation is about entering the study. When do people enter, or how do they enter? left truncation or delayed entry. Okay, left truncation or delayed entry. Next to right censoring, that is the second commonest source of incomplete observation of survival time. It is sometimes called delayed entry, or referring to the fact that the period before entry is truncated from observation. Yeah, this means, for example, if people are coming to the health facility and diagnosed to a certain disease, and you are to follow them until die, then the time on which the time before the diagnosis, okay, the date of diagnosis is what? It's truncated. You cannot observe it. It's truncated to the left. It's to the left or it's before. We don't have any information. So this is called left truncation because it's before. We are now to follow them into the future, but we don't have any information. Okay, we didn't observe them before this diagnosis. Okay, because they are coming just today or now. Therefore, such data is called left truncation. Okay, delayed entry. Delayed. They are delayed. Okay, they delayed. Therefore, yeah, you can avoid this delayance, of course, by design. But yeah, if you conduct community survey, for example, screening, you may get them earlier. Okay, but if you are waiting just them at the hospital, they will come delayed, and after the disease has reached a certain level. Okay, so this is delayed entry. In left truncation, the follow-up time must exceed some fixed value that may be same or different for all individuals. Yeah, in delayed entry or left truncation, you follow just in the future. Okay, so the follow-up time must exceed a certain point. That point is, of course, the entry point. Okay, that point is, of course, the entry point. The beginning or the zero value of time must also be known for each observation. Otherwise, if the subject's follow-up time do not exceed that value, or if their beginning value of time is not known, then they would be excluded from the analysis because if you don't have the origin, you cannot know the survival time. If you don't know the survival time, you can do nothing on such data. Okay, therefore, at least it's not an easy task. It's not an easy task. Once subject's entry point exceeds the left truncated value, they would remain at risk until they have the event or right censored. You can see this example, of course. Now let's see right truncation. Okay, you can see right truncation. The previous one is left truncation. Now it's to the right. It occurs by the design of the studies. There is a selection process such that data are available. This typically occurs in settings where data come from a registry containing information on confirmed cases of disease. Yeah. For example, if you are selecting cases from a certain register, then we know nothing about from that time onwards, but we can have some data. From that register book for each individual until the date of exit. So in that case, we have right truncation. What's truncated is to the future. Okay, it is the future condition which has been truncated. Therefore, that's truncation. Okay, right truncation. For example, all subjects in a cancer registry, okay, by definition have cancer, okay? They have already developed the cancer, okay? We don't have any more event at that time because they have already developed. If the event of interest is developing cancer, then they have already registered and they have already cancer and they have already registered, right? Therefore, such events are called right truncation, right truncated data. Thus, any analysis of time variable that uses confirmed diagnosis of a cancer as event of interest will involve right truncation. Okay. Thus, any analysis of time variable that uses confirmed diagnosis of cancer as event of interest will involve right truncation. Everybody has experienced the event of interest. We have also interval truncation. That means you know the middle one, but you don't know when it has started and when it has ended. Okay, so it is a mix of left truncation and right truncation. If you don't know when it has started and when it will end, then or if we know the end and the beginning, okay, but at the middle, if there is an event, then you don't know when the event has occurred. So in that case, you have interval truncation. Okay, interval truncation. So unlike truncation, now let's see censoring. So unlike truncation, censoring is about leaving the study. Now, as mentioned before, truncation is about entering the study. Okay, when do they enter? So censored data can occur when the event of interest is death, but the patient is still alive at the time of the analysis. The individual was lost to follow-up without having the event of interest in this case, for example. Or it could be the event of interest is death by cancer, but the patient died of unrelated causes. That's what we call it competing risk. Or the patient is dropped from the study without having experienced the event of interest due to a protocol violation. So all these phenomena can be a reason of censoring. Okay, a reason of censoring. Okay. Yeah, just assume you are following individuals. Okay, the first one meaning assume you are following individuals. So you are just planning.
Doctor,
Yes.
slide after line.
Yes.
Slide after line. Scroll ማድረጉ አቁሟል።
አሁን አያረግም?
አዎ አያረግም።
ኦኬ
አይ ኮኔክሽን ነው የሚሆነው። እኔ ጋር ያደርጋል፣ ስክሮል ያደርጋል።
እንደዛ ነው የሚሆን። ብዙ ችግር ያለ አይመስለኝም። አሁን
እኔም ሌሎች ጋር ይቀር
it could be strengths, yeah. It could be internet strengths. Yeah, just wait. If you are hearing, no problem. If you are hearing me. So the first one, the event of interest is this, but the patient is still alive, meaning, yeah, just you may plan to follow individuals for 1 year. And while you are following them for 1 year, then some of them may die or some of them may still alive. So those individuals who are still alive, just at the end of the follow-up are what? Censored. Because you don't know when they will die. And you don't have any time, okay? No more time you have that to follow them, right? So these are censored. Yeah. Or while we are following them, they could be lost follow-up. So that's also censoring, because if they are lost follow-up, then we don't know when the event will occur. Or the third one is the event of interest is death by cancer. Okay, you are following cancer patients, but in the middle of your follow-up, they could die of car accident, for example. So that's not your interest. So this is again censoring. Okay. If there was no any car accident, the person may survive even longer than the date on which that accident was occurred. Therefore, it's also kind of censoring. And the fourth one is, yeah, there could be protocol violation. For example, there could be smokers and non-smokers. And while you are following them, the smokers and the non-smokers group, okay, the cohort of smokers and non-smokers, in the non-smoker group, okay, some members of the non-smoker group may start smoking. That's protocol violation, and it cannot be eligible study participant for you, right? Therefore, this is also censoring, okay? From that time onward, he or she will be considered as censored, okay? Even if an observation is censored, we will still include in our analysis, of course. That is, of course, the strength of survival analysis. Okay, even if a person is censored, we can incorporate them into our study. That is the beauty of survival analysis. Of course, the most or the commonest type of censoring is called right censoring, and the commonest type of truncation is called left truncation. Okay, and a follow-up time is left censored if we know that the event of interest took place at unknown time prior to that. Yeah, when we say right censoring, well, we know that a person will alive at least some time t before the date of departure, for example, or the date of disappearance or lost follow-up, for example. While you are following individuals, they may be lost follow-up by today. So if they lost follow-up just by this moment, then we may be quite sure that he or she will survive a certain time from now onwards. That is right censoring. And left censoring is, yeah, we know that the person has already developed the event of interest, but we don't know when actually he started. For example, let's see this example. Assume a child has started is smoking. A 12-year child is smoking cigarette, already started smoking. Now your interest may be survival time until a person starts smoking. So if you are to study such data, then obviously the origin will be birth. Okay, from birth until the first smoking, the time when a child starts smoking, that is the survival time. Let's assume. So the event of the event of interest is what? Smoking. Start of smoking is the event of interest. So if you see that a 12-year child is starting smoking, then and if he did not know because he's a child, a 12-year child, and he don't know when he started, okay, then it's left censoring because we know that it is just before now, but we don't actually when it is. So this is left censoring. So let's see this diagram. Okay, this is diagram. So we have four individuals, individual A, B, C, and B. Individual A is called, individual B is called fully completed, fully observed. Okay? Individual B is called fully observed. Why? Because we know when he has started, okay, the starting point, and we know when he was terminated. Okay, the beginning and the ending point is known for B. For C, yeah, we know, of course, when the event or when the follow-up is started, that is the starting point. But the dot shows that it's lost follow-up or he's lost follow-up. That means we don't know until which time, until when he would survive. So this is right censoring, okay, right censored individual. D, okay, the two vertical lines, by the way, are the observation time. Okay, we have to the right and to the left, we have two vertical lines, and the horizontal line is the time. So the two vertical line, the first vertical line is the start of the follow-up, and the second vertical line or to the right is the end. We don't have time to follow them from that onwards. Therefore, any individual may start at any time t in between this. At this 2 point or in between. Therefore, B is fully observed, C is partially observed because we don't know when he will die. So that is right censored. D, yeah, it is in our follow-up, but he was lost follow-up, or he was, not follow-up. He was right censored because we don't have the option to follow him from that vertical line onwards, okay? Because that is the end line. We don't assume we don't have time to follow them, okay? So such events are called, again, right censored events, okay? Right censored, okay? Such individuals are called right-censored individuals. A, it's left-censored. Why? We don't have any observation. That means we don't have a time when it has started, okay? So it's left-censored. It's left-censored. Okay? So the answer is here, you can see it. So we have assumptions, of course, in here in survival analysis. Any standard method of survival analysis deals with right censoring and left truncation and has the following assumptions, of course. Here the assumption is that assume you have two groups of individuals, group A and group B, or assume you have 100 individuals, okay? And out of these 100 individuals, some of them may be lost follow-up and some of them are, of course, still on the court. So what does this assumption mean? Or this assumption is called, of course, non-informative or independent assumption, and this means those individuals who are lost to follow-up will have the same probability of developing the event of interest with that of those who are under observation. Okay. So don't forget we have two good types of individuals. Those who are under observation still are under our observation, and there are also other lost follow-up individuals. Okay? And there are still other lost follow-up individuals. Therefore, those lost follow-up individuals, but when you come to the reality, those lost follow-up individuals may have encountered the event of interest more likely than those who are under observation. For example, in ART follow-up, in follow-up of ART users, there are lost follow-up. According to that assumption, those lost follow-up are equally likely to develop the event of interest, maybe days, for example, when compared to those who are under treatment. And of course, this is a strong assumption. Okay, it may not be the case in reality because the reason for disappearance or lost follow-up may be this. Okay, so in reality, lost follow-up may be more associated with this. But according to this assumption, whether they are lost follow-up or under observation, we assume that the probability of developing the event of interest or experiencing the event of interest is the same. So if this assumption is fulfilled, then we can apply a different survival analysis. For example, life table, the simplest statistical method on survival data. So a life table, it's a table that shows the probability of surviving any time t from the starting to from the start or the beginning of the follow-up until a certain time t. Okay, so let's see this example. Let me take you to this example. Yeah, just let me. The set of probabilities, okay, lifetime set of probabilities used in estimating the probability of the occurrence of an event or survival at each year, and the cumulative probability of survival to each year is called the life table. That means it just tells you the probability of surviving any time t. So to carry out the calculation, we first set out for years, for each year, x. So, for example, we have nx, nx meaning the number alive at the start, okay? Or at time x. Okay? The number alive at the start, for example, could be n0, for example. So nx meaning the number of individuals who are surviving at time x. The number withdrawn during the year is called ws. Withdrawn at time t, at time x, for example, is called wx. The number at risk are rx. Okay. Rx means the number at time x, and the number dying if the event of interest is this. Okay, if the event of interest is this, then the number dying or the number of individuals who died is called dx. Okay, dx. Wait.
Hello, someone?
Hello. Sorry for the interruption. So, yeah, just we have these four parameters: nx, wx, rx, and dx. Nx meaning the number of individuals at time x. Wx is the number of individuals at time x, and rx is the population at risk or the number at risk at time x, and dx is the number of days at time x. Okay, so I think it is easy to memorize them. So let's see how to conduct life table using survival data. Okay, let's see. It's very interesting and useful. Let's see. Assume x is in years. Okay, here's the first column. X is in years. So 1, 2, 3, up to 80. So this is the survival time. Okay, surviving 1 year, surviving 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, etc. Right? And so this is time. And the second column is about nx, that's number at start, or number number of individuals at time nx. Okay, so at year 1, for example, there were 20 individuals. At year 2, for example, there were 17 individuals. At year 3, we are left only with 15 individuals, etc. At year 18, we have 1 individual. Okay, withdrawn during year X. Withdrawn during year X. Okay, so these are lost follow-up. For example, in year 1, there were 20 individuals, and of whom 2 were lost follow-up. Okay, so now if this is the idea, Rx is the number at risk. So let's see how to calculate all this. Okay, now we have year 1. In year 1, or at the baseline, or at the origin, we have 20 individuals. Okay, we have 20 individuals. So of these 20 individuals, 2 were withdrawn within year 1. Okay, so how many individuals will remain? Automatically, you would say 18, because 20 minus 2 is 18. But that's not in life table. We don't calculate like that. Okay, in life table, we don't calculate like that. Just we calculate by subtracting this half of this withdrawal from this. Okay, 20 minus half of withdrawn. That means half of 2 is 1. So 20 minus 1 is 19. So Rx is the population at risk. Okay. So you can see the formula at the bottom of the table. Rx is equal to nx minus half of wx at the bottom here. Okay, Rx is equal to nx minus half of wx. Okay. So that's the point. Okay, why we take half of wx? Why don't we take all? The reason is, for example, here the time is in year. In year we have 12 months. So of course there are 2 individuals who withdraw at this time period. If that is the case, then these 2 individuals might have withdrawn just at the beginning of the year, or at the end of the year, or at the middle. We don't know when they withdraw. Okay, we don't know when they withdrew. So just to be fair, yeah. Just we will take 6 months. Okay, if for example they withdraw at the end of the year, then they have already survived the whole year. Okay, if they withdraw at the beginning of the year, then they survive none of the months of the year. So it's big. So to be safe, to be fair, let us account half year, 6 months for each. So 6 months for 2 individuals, meaning 12 months for 2 individuals. 12 months for two individuals. That means 1 year for 1 individual. That's why we account 1 year, 1 individual. Okay, so we multiply by half before we subtract from nx. Okay, we multiply wx by half just before subtract from nx. Okay, from nx. So the population at risk is 19, not 18. We don't subtract the whole withdrawn individuals too. So if that is the case, how many days we have in year 1? In year 1, assume we have 1 day. So this will be collected from the especially 20, 2, and 1 will be collected from the record, right? From the record. So now you can calculate the probability of dying in that particular year. Okay, the probability of dying in the first year, in this first year. What is that? That is dx over rx. Okay, dx over rx, or the number of individuals who died in that year divided by the number of individuals who where at risk is the probability of death or the probability of death. Don't forget here small qx, meaning the probability of dying in that particular year only. Then what is the probability of surviving that year? Or what is the probability of spending that year without death? Okay, that is that can be calculated by subtracting the probability of death from 1. Okay, 1 minus the probability of death is the probability of surviving that particular year, year 1. Okay, what is the probability of surviving from the beginning to the end of year 1? It is the same. It's the same for year 1. It's the same as that of probability of surviving year X. Now, this is about year 1. Now let's go to year 2. Okay, in year 2, how many individuals we left with? We left only with 17 individuals. Why? Because out of 20 individuals, 2 withdraw, and we have 2 withdraw and 1 death. Total 3 individuals have been lost from the court. 2 due to lost follow-up or censoring, and 1 due to death. Therefore, we left only with 17 individuals. And from these 17 individuals, 2 were died. 2 died. So how many at risk? 17 minus half of 2, which is 16. How many days we have in that year? Don't forget, these are the number of days in that year, in year 2, not year 1, year 2 only. So 0. So what is the probability of dying in that year? 0 over 16. That means dx over rx, which is 0. Okay, if the probability of dying in year 2 is 0, what is the probability of surviving in year 2? It is 1, because 1 minus 0 is 1. Okay, now capital Px and small px are different. Okay, the last column and the second column from the last are different. Small px meaning the probability of surviving that particular year, and capital Px or the last column is the probability of surviving from the beginning to the end of each year, from the beginning of year 1 until that particular year. For example, for year 2, it is the probability of capital Px, meaning the probability of surviving from the beginning up to the end of year 2. That means the probability of surviving year 1 and year 2. Okay, this one, capital Px, meaning the probability of surviving year 1 and year 2. Okay, when x is 2, capital P2, meaning when x is 2, capital P2, meaning, okay, that means the probability of surviving year 1 and year 2. Therefore, this can be calculated by multiplying all probabilities in that particular year and before. Therefore, for this one, 1 times this one, okay, 0.9, the first probability of small px times 1 will give you this one. Or you can calculate, multiply this one, okay, the probability of capital Px minus 1 times small px, small px. So this one, 0. Diagonally, okay, this one times this one will give you this one if you are observing my arrow, okay, or my cursor. Year 3, how many individuals we have? 15 only. Why? Because out of 17, we have lost 2 individuals, so we left only no days in that year, so we left only 15. 15 individuals and withdrawal is 0. Therefore, population at risk at that particular year is 15, because 15 minus half of 0 is 15. Therefore, number of days in that particular year is 1. 1 minus 15, 1 divided by 15, the probability of dying in that particular year, therefore it will be 0.0667. So the probability of surviving that particular year will be 1 minus this number, 0.0667. So the 0.9333 will be the probability of surviving year 3. Okay. Therefore, what is the cumulative probability? Cumulative probability ስንል ምን ማለታችን ነው? ከመጀመሪያው ጀምሮ እስከዛኛው ዓመት ድረስ ያለው ማለት እስከዛ ዓመት ድረስ ያለው ማለት ስሞል ፒኤክስ የሚለን ግን ምንድነው? ስሞል ፒኤክስ የሚነግረን ለእያንዳንዱ አመት ሰርቫይቭ የማድረግ ፕሮባቢሊቲ ነው። ካፒታል ፒኤክስ ወይም የመጨረሻው ኮለመን ግን ከመጀመሪያው አመት ጀምሮ እስከዛ እስከምንከተለው አመት ወይም እስከፈለግነው አመት ድረስ ያለመሞት ፕሮባቢሊቲ እንደማለት ነው። ዜርፎር ለምሳሌ እስከ 3ኛው አመት መጨረሻ ድረስ ሰርቫይቭ ለማድረግ እነዚህን ስሞል ፒዎችን ማባዛት ነው እርስ በርሳቸው 0.94 ታይምስ 1 ታይምስ ወይም ደግሞ ዲያጎናሊ ይችኛዋን በዚህኛዋ ማባዛት የመጨረሻዋን እቺን የመጨረሻዋንና በስታባዛ እዚህ ከጎን ያለውን ታገኛለህ። አራተኛ 14 ሰው ነው የቀረው። ምክንያቱም ከ15 ውስጥ አንድ ዴዝ ስላለና ይርስሪ ላይ ከ15ቱ አንድ ሰው ስለሞተብን 14 ሰው ብቻ ቀረ። ከ14 ዊዝድሮ የለንም። ስለዚህ አሁንም ፖፑሌሽን አት ሪስክ ራሱ 14 ነው። ዴዝም የለንም። ዊዝድሮ በተለይ ዴዝ ከሌለ ምንም ነገር አይኖርም። ፕሮባቢሊቲ ኦፍ ዴዝ 0 ነው። ፕሮባቢሊቲ ኦፍ ሰርቫይቪንግ 1 ነው። ስለዚህ ኩሙሌቲቭ ፕሮባቢሊቲም አይቀየርም። ምክንያቱም 1 ታይምስ ይሄኛው ፕሮባቢሊቲ ራሱ ስለሚሆን አምስተኛው ላይ ነው። አሁንም 14 ነው። ለምን ሞትም የለም ዊዝድሮም የለም አራተኛው ላይ። ስለዚህ በእርግጥ አምስተኛው ላይ አንድ ዊዝድሮ አለን። ስለዚህ 13.5 ነው የሚቀረን። ለምን 14 ሲቀነስ half of 1 ማለት ነው። ኖ ዴዝ። ስለዚህ ፕሮባቢሊቲ ኦፍ ዴዝ ምንም እንኳን ዊዝድሮ ቢኖርም ዴዝ እስከሌለ ድረስ እነዚህ ፕሮባቢሊቲዎች አይቀየሩም። ሶስቱም ፕሮባቢሊቲዎች አይቀየሩም። ስድስተኛው ላይ ስንመጣ 13 ብቻ ቀረን። አንድ ዴዝ አለን። አንድ ዊዝድሮ አለን። ፖፑሌሽን አት ሪስክ ይሄ ነው። ተመሳሳይ ነው፣ ምንም አይቀየርም። ሰባተኛው ላይ ስትመጡ 12 ሰው ብቻ ቀረን። አንድ ዊዝድሮ አለን። 11.5 ፖፑሌሽን አት ሪስክ ነው። ሁለት ዴዝ አለን። 2 ሲካፈል 11.5 ይሄ ነው ፕሮባቢሊቲው። ፕሮባቢሊቲ ኦፍ ዳይንግ ኢን ዛት ፓርቲኩላር 0.826 and ይሄ ኩሙሌቲቭ ፕሮባቢሊቲ 0.7 እያለ መጨረሻ ላይ ይሄ ሁሉ እየቀነሰ መጥቶ ኤንኤክስ እየቀነሰ መጥቶ መጨረሻ ላይ አንድ ቀረች። አንዷም ዊዝድሮ አደረገች። ስለዚህ ፖፑሌሽን አት ሪስክ ሃፍ ብቻ ቀረን። ምንም ዴዝ የለም። ስለዚህ አለቀ፣ በቃ በዛው ተጠናቀቀ። ስለዚህ ምን ማለት ነው? ይሄ ኩሙሌቲቭ አሁን እዚህ ላይ ብዙም ኢንተረስትድ ምን ሆነው በእነዚህ አይደለም። ግን ሁሉ የምንለፋው ካፒታል ፒኤክስን ለማግኘት ነው። ይሄ ሁሉ የምንለፋው ካፒታል ፒኤክስን ለማግኘት ነው። ካፒታል ፒኤክስን ለማግኘት ነው። እና ምን ማለት ነው ካፒታል ፒኤክስ የመጨረሻው ማለት ነው። በጣም ኢንተረስቲንግ እንትን ያለው ምን ማለት ነው? ለምሳሌ 13ኛው ጋር ብሄድ ካፒታል ፒኤክስ እንት ነው 0.3092 ነው። ይሄ ማለት ነው ኦኬ። ሃሎ ዶክተር ኪሮስ ቆይቼ ልደውልልህ፣ ክላስ ላይ ሆኜ ነው። እደውልልሃለሁ፣ ችግር የለም። እሺ። ስለዚህ 13ኛው ላይ 13 ዓመት እነዚህ ፓራቶይድ ፔሸንት ናቸው። በነገራችን ላይ 20ዎቹ እነዚህ የተነሳንባቸው ፓራቶይድ ካንሰር ፔሸንቶች ናቸው እና 20ዎቹ ውስጥ 13 ዓመት የመቆየት ፕሮባቢሊቲያቸው ከነዚህ 20 ፔሸንቶች መካከል ለምሳሌ እያንዳንዱ ኢንዲቪጁዋል ማለት ነው እዚህ ውስጥ ያሉት 13 ዓመት የመቆየት ፕሮባቢሊቲያቸው ስንት ነው? 0.3092 ነው ማለት ነው። 15 ዓመት የመቆየት ፕሮባቢሊቲ ደግሞ ስንት ነው? 0.1546 ነው። 17 ዓመት የመቆየት ፕሮባቢሊቲ ያላቸው ስንት ነው? 0.1546 ነው። ኦኬ አንድ ሰው 18 ዓመት የመቆየት ፕሮባቢሊቲ ያለው ከነዚህ ከሀያዎች ውስጥ ስንት ነው ፕሮባቢሊቲ? 0.1546 ነው። ማንኛውም ሰው ከዚህ ከሀያዎች ውስጥ 5 ዓመት የመቆየት ፕሮባቢሊቲ ስንት ነው? 5 ዓመት የመቆየት ፕሮባቢሊቲ 0.8842 ነው። 2 ዓመት የመቆየት ፕሮባቢሊቲ ደግሞ 0.94 ምናምን ነው እና ይሄ ሰርቫይቫል ታይም ወይም እያንዳንዱ ታይም ቲ የመጀመሪያው ኮሎመን ታይም ቲ ነው። እያንዳንዱ ታይም ቲ የመቆየት ፕሮባቢሊቲ ሰርቫይቭ የማድረግ ፕሮባቢሊቲ 15 ከሆነ ደግሞ ቲ ለምሳሌ ወይም ኤክስ ወይም ቲ 15 ከሆነ ኦኬ። ስለዚህ 15 ዓመት ሰርቫይቭ የማድረግ ፕሮባቢሊቲ ስንት ይሆናል ማለት 0.1546 ይሆናል ማለት ነው። ኦኬ ይሄ ነው በቃ እና ኩሙሌቲቭ ፕሮባቢሊቲ ለምሳሌ what is the life expectancy or what's the median survival time ብንባል እዚህ ላይ ኦኬ በአማካኝ የሚቆዩት ሰዎች በአማካኝ የሚቆዩት እድሜ ስንት ነው ብንባል 0.5 ነው የምትፈልጓት እዚህ ውስጥ እዚህ የመጨረሻው ኮለመን ላይ 0.5 እንትፈልጓት አላችሁ 0.46446 አለ 64 ሲል ቆይቶ 46 አለ እና 46 ነው የምንወስደው የመጨረሻው ምክንያቱም 0.5 በመሃል ላይ ያለችው በ9 እና በ10 መሃል ላይ ያለችው ስለዚህ 10 እንወስዳለን just to be safe 10 እንወስዳለን ሚዲያን ሰርቫይቫል ታይም ማለት በአማካኝ የሚቆዩት ኦኬ ሰርቫይቭ የሚያደርጉበት ታይም ነው ስለዚህ የነዚህ አሁን ሚዲያን ሰርቫይቫል ታይም በ9 እና በ10 መካከል ነው ግን ዩዥዋሊ ያው 10 እንወስዳለን ኤግዛክትሊ እንቅጭም ሳላገኘው ነው ለምን 10 የምንለው ከዚህ ከኮለመን ከታይም ነው የምናገኘው ፈርስት ኮለመን ኦኬ ስለዚህ ሚዲያን ሰርቫይቫል ታይም ላይክ ለምሳሌ አሁን ይሄ እንትን ቢሆንስ ፓራትሮይድ ካንሰር ዲያግኖስ የተደረጉበት ቀን ሳይሆን መነሻ ላይክ ከበርዝ ጀምሮ ቢሆን አሁን ይሄ ለምሳሌ እንግዲህ በአማካኝ 13 አመት የሚቆይ ማነው 10 አመት ነው የሆነው እንግዲህ በአማካኝ 10 አመት እድሜ የሚኖረው ምንድነው ለምሳሌ ከእንስሳ ውሻ ቢሆን ይሄ ከተወለዱ ጀምሮ የቆዩበት ታይም ቢሆን ኤክስ የሚለው ኦኬ እዚህ ጋር 10 ማለት ምን ማለት ነው ላይፍ ኤክስፔክታንሲ ኦፍ ዶግ እንደማለት ነው በርግጥ ይሄ ዲፈረንት ነው የፓራትሮይድ ፔሸንት ነው ላይፍ ኤክስፔክታንሲ ልንለው አንችልም ለምን ከዛ በፊት በካንሰር ከመያዛቸው በፊት ብዙ አመት ኖረዋል ያን አንጨምርም እኛ ይሄ የተያዘው ላይክ ዲያግኖስ ከተደረገ ጀምሮ ዴዝ እስከሚኖር ድረስ ነው እና መነሻችን ኢትስ ኖት በርዝ ዲያግኖስ የተደረገበት ስለሆነ ይሄ የምናውቀው በስታቲስቲክስ የምናውቀው ላይፍ ኤክስፔክታንሲ አይደለም ግን ላይፍ ኤክስፔክታንሲ መስራት እንችላለን በተመሳሳይ ሁኔታ ላይክ እዚህ ስንነሳ በርዝ ከበርዝ ጀምሮ ከሆነ ከዲያግኖስ ሳይሆን በርዝ ቢሆን ላይክ ለምሳሌ ላይፍ ኤክስፔክታንሲ ኦፍ ኢትዮጵያንስ አሁን ምናልባት 65 66 አካባቢ ሳይሆን ይቀራል ብላችሁ አሁን የሚባለው ስለዚህ እዚህ 65 እዚህ የመጀመሪያው ኮለመን ላይ 65 ትክክል ላይ ስትሄዱ 50% ታገኛላችሁ መጨረሻው ኮለመን ላይ ያ ማለት 50 ማለት half probability ያለን እስከዛ የመቆየት ማለት ነው ስለዚህ የዛ ኮረስፖንዲንግ ታይም ቲ እዚህ ፈርስት ኮለመን ላይ ያለው ሚዲያን ሰርቫይቫል ታይም ይባላል እና it is a very 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 useful tool ላይፍ ቴክ ይሄ ሚዲያ ላይ ሁሉ ጊዜ የምታዩት በዚህ መንገድ እየተሰራ ሪፖርት የሚደረግ ነው ሚዲያን ሰርቫይቫል ታይም ኦፍ life expectancy of Ethiopians is 65 years that of Americans is about 18 and that of Scandinavian countries is very large like ከ85 አካባቢ በላይ ሳይሆን ቀራል ለነሱ ስካንዲኔቪያን ካንትሪስ ወደ 85 እንደዛና በዚህ መንገድ ነው ካልኩሌት የሚደረገው anyway the last column is the life expectancy okay እንደማለት ልዩነቱ ምንድነው እዚህ ጋር ያው ዲያግኖስ ከተደረገ በኋላ ያለውን ስለሰራ ነው ኦኬ እሺ እንዴት ነው አላችሁ
አለን ዶክተር አለን
ኦኬ እና እንዴት ነው ጥሩ ነው እንቀጥል
አዎ አሪፍ ነው እንግዲህ ሌሎችን መስማት እንችላለን
ምናልባት የመጀመሪያ ቀን ስለሆነ በዚህ ሰዓት ኮንፊውዝ አድርጊያችሁ እንዳልሆን የብዙ ሰውን ቀርቶ እንዳይሆን ስንት ነው አሁን ያላችሁ
አሁን ወደ 15 ሰው ነው አካባቢ ያለ መሰለኝ
9 10 11 12 13 14 16 ስንት ናችሁ ጠቅላላ
ቲንክ ስንት ኤክስቴንሽን ስንት እንደሆነ አላወኩም እኛ 8 አንድ 22 ምናምን አካባቢ
24 or 25 እስቲ ዝም ብለን ዲፊኒሽኑን ላሳያችሁና እንትን ነገ ጀምረን እናጠናክረዋለን ካልሆነ አሁን ሼርድ ነው አይደለም
ሼርድ ነው
ኦኬ ያ እንግዲህ ሚዲያን ሰርቫይቫል ታይም ቅድም ያልኳችሁ ነው። let capital T be a random variable that represents the survival time, right? Let capital T be a random variable that represents the survival time. That means the last column of the life table. The probability of, the first column of the life table. Okay, the first column of the life table. So the probability of surviving each time T will be the last column. Okay, so the distribution of the survival time can be described by the survival function. Okay, any thing has its own distribution. Like, for example, the survival time. Okay, the survival time. Look, if you see your weight, it has its own distribution. It could be normal or skewed. Okay, if you see your age, it has its own distribution. So, similarly, our survival time, okay, okay, that's the first column, has its own distribution. Let's say that distribution called S of T, okay, function. So this function or S of T is called Kaplan-Meier function. So S of T is equal to the probability of surviving time T greater than a certain time T. What does that mean? Small t is any fixed value. So S of T meaning the probability of surviving that time T, or the probability of staying beyond that time T. ምን ማለት ነው? ለምሳሌ እዚህ ላይፍ ቴብል ላይ ሄድኩላችሁ። S of 7 ብላችሁ ስንት ነው የሚሆነው? S of 7 ብላችሁ 7ን እዚህ ፈርስት ኮለመን ላይ ያለው በሱ ትክክል 7 ዓመት የመቆየትና 7 ዓመትና ከዛ በላይ የመቆየት ፕሮባቢሊቲ 0. የመጨረሻው ኮለመን በ7 ትክክል ኦኬ በታይም 7 ትክክል የመጨረሻው ኮለመን 0.7304 ይሆናል S of 7 S of 10 ደግሞ ስንት ይሆናል? S of 10 ስንት ይሆናል? በ10 ትክክል ማለት ነው 0.4638 S of 17 ስንት ይሆናል? 0.1546 ያለ ይሄዳል ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ S of 7 ይሄ 7 10 ኦኬ የምለው ታይም ነው ማለት ነው። ካፒታል ቲ ማለት the probability of surviving that time ኦኬ I mean like small t ማለት እዚህ ጋር ምን ገልጸው ነው? ለምሳሌ S of 10 ስል 10 small t ናት ማለት ነው። እና ካፒታል ቲ ምንድነው ማለት 10 እና ከዛ በላይ ያሉት ታይሞች 10 11 12 13 ከዛ በላይ S of 15 ስል 15 small t ነች እና ካፒታል ቲ ምንድነው 15 እና ከዛ በላይ like 15 16 17 18 etc. ኦኬ ሶ S of t ማለት S of small t ማለት ከዛ ከስሞል ቲ እና ከዛ በላይ ሰርቫይቭ የማድረግ ፕሮባቢሊቲ ማለት ነው። ሶ S of t is a probability that a subject selected randomly survives longer than time t ማለት ነው። ኦኬ ከተጠቀሰው ታይም ቲ በላይ ሰርቫይቭ የማድረግ ፕሮባቢሊቲ ማለት ነው። እና እዚህ ጋር the median survival time let's denote it by tau. Okay, the symbol that you are seeing here, tau, this one is called tau. So let's denote this as the median survival time. It's just the time where 15% of the participants have experienced the event of interest. So median survival time, the life expectancy ያልኋችሁ ምን ማለት ነው? በቃ ቢያንስ ግማሹ ቢያንስ አይደለም ኤግዛክትሊ ግማሹ ሰርቫይቭ ያደረገበት ግማሹ ደግሞ ዳይ ያደረገበት ታይም እንደማለት ነው ወይም ሎስት ፎሎ አፕ የሆነበት ታይም እንደማለት ነው። ግማሹ አይዘር ዳይ ኦር ሎስት ፎሎ አፕ የሆነበት ግማሹ ደግሞ ሰርቫይቭ ያደረገበት ታይም ማለት ነው። ኦኬ ይሄ ነው ሌላ ምንም ነገር የለው። ሶ ችግሩ ምንድነው? ኤግዛክትሊ 0.5 እና እናገኛት ኤግዛክትሊ 0.5 ለምሳሌ እዚህ ጋር ታገኙት መጨረሻው ኮለመን ላይ ምንድነው ያለው 0.64 ብሎ 0.4 ነው ያለው መሃል ላይ ነች 0.5 በዛን ሰዓት የመጨረሻውን ከዛ ቀጥሎ ያለውን ስሞል ታይም ያለውን 10ን ማለት ነው እና ትልቁን ፕሮባቢሊቲ ግን ስሞል ታይም ያለውን ውሰድ ነው የሚለው ስለዚህ ቀጥሎ ያለውን ስንወስድ ታይም 10 ይሆናል እና 10 ሚዲያን ሰርቫይቫል ታይም ነው ማለት ኦኬ እሱን ነው የሚለው እዚህ ላይ ኦኬ in practice however we don't usually hit the median survival at exactly one of the failure time 0.5 ቀጥታ ከሆነ ታይም ጋር አላይ ሆኖ አታገኙትም in this case the estimated median survival time during Kaplan-Meier estimation is the smallest time t such that s of t less than 0.5 yeah probability ከ0.5 በታች ሆነ ወርታች ማለት ነው ከ0.6 ዝቅ ብለን ያገኘነው ነገር ግን ስሞል ታይም ያለው ያ ማለት 10 ብቻ ሁሉም ፕሮባቢሊቲዎች ከ0.6 በታች ያሉት ከ0.5 በታች ናቸው ኦኬ ከ0.5 በታች ናቸው ከነዚህ ውስጥ ግን ማን ነው ስሞለር ታይም ያለው ማን ነው 10 ብቻ ነው ስለዚህ 10 ወሰዱ ነው ኦኬ 10 ወሰዱ ነው if there is no censoring በነገራችን ላይ censoring ከሌለ s of t ማለት ፕሮፖርሽን ማለት ነው ምንም ሌላ ነገር የለውም ከጠቅላላ ሰዎች ውስጥ ምን ያክሉ ኢቨንቱን ኤክስፒሪየንስ አደረገው ፕሮፖርሽኑ ነው ግን ሴንሰሪንግ ካለ ግን ከዛ ይለያል ፕሮፖርሽን ይለያል ኦኬ ይለያል አይ ቲንክ ነገ እንጀምረው ይሄንን አዲስ ያው ሂንት ነገር ሰጥቻችኋል ስላይዱን ሼር አረጋችኋለሁ አክቹአሊ እሺ
እዚህ ጋር ያልነበረ
ምን እስቲ ጥያቄ
እሺ 10 እና 11 ላይ ተመሳሳይ ፕሮባቢሊቲ ነው ያለው ፕሮብሌም ታያው ስለዚህ ኬዝ ምንድነው ምናደርገው 10 እና 11 year 10 እና 11 11
ተመሳሳይ ቢሆን የትኛውን እንወስዳለን ነው
0.4
ተመሳሳይ ነው አሁን ራሱ ይሄ ተመሳሳይ ነው ከነዛ ውስጥ ስሞለስት ታይም ማን ነው
ኦኬ 10
ይሆናል ማለት ዋናው ምንድነው ፕሮባቢሊቲው ከ0.5 በታች ይሆን ያ ከሆነ በኋላ ደግሞ ስሞለስት ታይምን እንወስዳለን
ኦኬ እሺ
እዚህ ጋር ግን
እሺ
እንዴት አንድ አይነት እንዴት እንደሆነ እዚህ ጋር
አንድ አይነት የሆነበት ያው ዴዝ ስለሌለ ነው በዛ አመት ዴዝ ከሌለ አይቀየርም ብለናል ዴዝ አይተዋል እዚህ ላይ 10 ላይ 0 ነው አይደል ታያለች ቻርዋል ዴዝ 0 ከሆነ ፕሮባቢሊቲ ኦፍ ዴዝ 0 ይሆናል አይደል ምክንያቱም 0 ሲካፈል ለ7.6 0 ነው የመሞት ዴዝ ከሌለ የፕሮባቢሊቲ ኦፍ ዴዝ የለም ማለት ነው 0 ነው ማለት ነው ፕሮባቢሊቲ ኦፍ ዴዝ ከሌለ ደግሞ ሁሉም ሰርቫይቭ አደረጉ አያችሁ 1 ስሞል px 1 ሆነ ማለት ሁሉም ሰርቫይቭ አደረጉ ማለት ነው ስለዚህ ኩሙሌቲቭ ፕሮባቢሊቲው ተመሳሳይ ነው የሚሆን ለምን ይሄንን የድሮን ፕሮባቢሊቲ 0.6493 8 ላይ ነው ምናምን 9 ላይ ያለውን በአንድ ስታበዛው ራሱ ተመልሶ ነው የሚመጣው
ኦኬ ይሄ ግን ኮሙሌቲቭ ፕሮባቢሊቲው ግን ከዛ ሰርቫይቪንግ ታይሙ በላይ ያሉትን ነው የምንወስደው ወይስ በታች ያለውን ነው ኮሙኒቲው የምንወስደው የሚለውን
ለምሳሌ s of 10 ብልህ s of 10 ድረስ ሰርቫይቭ የማድረግ ፕሮባቢሊቲ ብልህ ቢባል ስንት ይሆናል ይሄ ይሆናል 0. ይሄ ቁጥር ይታያችኋል ንገረኝ እስቲ
0.4638 መሰለኝ
ይሆናል s of 10 ማለት እሱ ማለት ነው እና ቀጥታ እሱንም ተወስ s of 15 ማለት ስንት ነው 0.1546 ይመጣል the probability of surviving year 10 ማለት ቅድም በዛ ትክክል ያለውን probability ታያለ ማለት
ኦኬ አይ መጀመሪያ ካልኩሌሽኑ ላይ ነው ይሄ እንደዚህ ሆኖ ለምሳሌ ቢሰጥ ቀጥታ ሄዶ እንትን ማድረግ ነው ግን ኮሙኒቲውን ካልኩሌት ሲደረግ ግን ከዚህ ከሰርቫይቫል ታይሙ አባብ ያለው ወይስ ቢለው ያለው ነው ካልኩሌት ለምሳሌ ሰርቫይቫል ታይም ኦፍ 10
ለምሳሌ የመጀመሪያው ማለት ነው የመጀመሪያው ኮሚኒቲቭ ከመጀመሪያው ፒኤክስ ስሞል ፒኤክስ ጋር ተመሳሳይ ነው ፕሮባቢሊቲ ኦፍ ሰርቫይቫል
ከዛ በላይ ስለሌለን ማለት ነው
ከዛ በፊት ታይም ስለሌለን ከሁለተኛው አመት መጨረሻ ለመቆየት ግን የመጀመሪያውን መቆየት አለበት አንድ ሳይባል ሁለት አይባልም አይደለ ስለማይባል የመጀመሪያውን አመት ሰርቫይቭ ማድረግ አለበት ይሄንን አሁን በከርሰር ምዞረውን 0.947 ሚሊዮን ማለት ታይምስ 1 ይሄ እዚህ ጋር ያለው ቀጥሎ ያለው ኦር ይችኛው 1 ሲባዛ ዲያጎናሊ እዚህ ላይ ይቺ ማለት ነው አረግ ይሄንን ይሰጣል ይርቱ መጨረሻ ኮሚኒቲ ማለት ነው የይር 3 ለማግኘት ይር 3 ላይ መድረስ አንድ አመት ሴሌብሬት ማድረግ አለብህ 2 አመት ሴሌብሬት ማድረግ አለብህ 3 አመት ሴሌብሬት ስለዚህ ሶስቱንም ፕሮባቢሊቲዎች ማባዛት አለብህ ኦኬ 4 አመት ሰርቫይቭ ለማድረግ አንደኛው ፕሮባቢሊቲ ሲባዛ ሁለተኛው ሲባዛ ሶስተኛው ሲባዛ በአራት 10 አመት ለመኖር የአንደኛውን የሁለተኛው የሶስተኛው የአራተኛው እስከ 10 ድረስ ያሉት መባዛት አለባቸው ኦር ዲያጎናሊ የ10ን ኩሙሌቲቭ ለማግኘት የ9ን ኩሙሌቲቭ ከ10ኛው አመት ስሞል ፒኤክስ 10ኛው አመት ስል የአንዷን አመት ስሞል ፒኤክስን ነው የ8ኛውን ለማግኘት የ7ኛውን ኩሙሌቲቭ ከ8ኛው ወይም ስሞል ፒኤክስ 8 ሲሆን ማባዛት አለበት ዲያጎናሊ ማለት ነው ላይክ ዲያጎናሊ ከርሰሩ እየታያችሁ ከሆነ ይቺ አንድ ሲባዛ በዚህ ይሄንን ይሰጠኛል ይቺኛዋ ፕሮባቢሊቲ ኦኬ ሲባዛ በዚህኛው ይቺን ትሰጠኛለች ዝቅ ብላ ያለችው ይቺኛው አንድ ሲባዛ በዚህ የትኛውን ይሰጠኛል ይሄን ዝቅ ብሎ ያለውን ይሰጠኛል ኦር ይሄንን ለማግኘት ከዚህ በላይ ይሄንና ከዚህ በላይ ያሉትን ማባዛት አለበት ሁለት አማራጭ ነው ያለው ግልጽ ነው አይደል
ገብቶኛል በፕሮባቢሊቲ በዛ ኤጅ ላይ ያሉ ፕሮባቢሊቲያቸውን ከዛ እድሜ ወይም ታይም በላይ ባለው ኮሚኒቲቭ ፕሮባቢሊቲ ማባዛት ማለት ነው
ኤግዛክትሊ
ኦኬ
ዶክተር
እሺ
ኮሚኒቲቭ ፕሮባቢሊቲ ኦፍ ሰርቫይቪንግ ኤክሲስት ዲሞግራፊ ላይ እንደተማርነው ከሆነ የመጀመሪያው የይርዋን ላይ ያለው ከየሁሉም በላይ ነው የሚሆነው ማለት የሁሉም ድምር ነው የሚሆነው የኮሚኒቲቭ ከሆነ ወደ ታች እየተቀነሰ ሲሄድ የሚሰጥ ነበር ባለፈው የተማርነው ግን አሁን ይሄ ኮሚኒቲቭ ከተባለ የተደመረ የሚሄድ መሆን አለበት መስለኛል ዲሞግራፊ ላይ እንደዛ ነገር ነው ማስታውሰው በርግጥ ዛት ኤክስ ተብለን የተማረው ዚ ኤክስ ነገር ነው የሚለው
እንትን ነው ማለት ሜቶድ ኦፍ አናሊሲስ ስለተለያየ ነው ይሄ ጆይንት ፕሮባቢሊቲ ነው የምትጠቀመው ጆይንት ፕሮባቢሊቲ ማለት አሁን ለምሳሌ 10 አመት ለመቆየት አንደኛውን አመት እና ሁለተኛውን አመት እና ሶስተኛውን አመት እና አራተኛውን አመት ያለ ነው የሚሄዳል እና ነው ኤንድ የሆነ ነገር በፕሮባቢሊቲ ማባዛት ነው መደመር ኦር ሲሆን ነው ይሄኛውን ኦር ይሄኛውን ከሆነ መደመር ነው እና ይሄ ላይ 10 አመት ሴሌብሬት ለማድረግ you have to celebrate the first birth the second birth the third birth መስት ናቸው እነዚህ እና ኤንድ ነው ይሄ ኤንድ ያ ማባዛት ነው ያለበት እና ምናልባት እዛ ላይ ያለው ሜቶድ ኦፍ አናሊሲሱን እየው በደንብ ተደምሮ የሚመጣበት መንገድ ይኖራል ሌላ እንጂ በዚህኛው አካሄድ ከሆነ it's all okay
ይለያያሉ ኦኬ እሺ
እየው በደንብ ያኛው እንዴት ካልኩሌት እንደሚያደርግ እሺ
እዚህ ጋር ከታች ነው እየደመረ ወደ ላይ የሚመጣውና ተመሳሳይ ይመስለኛል ኮንሰፕቱ ከመጨረሻው እየደመረን ወደ መጀመሪያው ነው የምንመጣው ዛኛው ላይና
የሆነ በተለያዩ እንትኖች አሉ በነገራችን ላይ ያው ማለት እንትኑ ነው አካሄድ አሳምፕሽኖችን ነው የምታያቸው ይሄ አሁን ጀስት የእያንዳንዱ ዓመት ፕሮባቢሊቲ አለን and cumulative probability አለን ይሄን cumulative ለማግኘት የግድና የግድ እዚህ ያገኘው cumulative probability ላይ ያንን ልደምረው አትችልም ማባዛት ነው ያለብህ ለምን it's በቃ joint probability ይባላል በስታቲስቲክስ ያኛውን ደግሞ just የራሷ ቴክኒክ አለችው አይ ቲንክ አሁን ማለት ዲፔንድስ ዴታውን ሳላይ ይሄ ነው ማለት አልችልም የዴታውን ኔቸር ያቀማመጡ ሁኔታ ይወስነዋል